How's it going, people? I was thinking the other day that the logos of car manufacturers are taken for granted, and I wanted to know more about where a lot of them come from, so I did the research, and here are 10 great stories behind some of the world's coolest car brand logos. Remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, comment down below to let me know if there are any other car topics that you'd like me to cover in terms of history, and subscribe as well if you're new. But without further ado, let's get into the video. The Koenigsegg Ghost logo isn't just cool looking, it has a particularly interesting history behind its existence. In 2003, the company had to move from its original headquarters after a fire broke out, and they ended up taking over the hangars that were formerly home to the Swedish Air Force's fighter jet squadron number 1. This squadron used to have a flying ghost as their insignia, which is on their fighter jets, Saab AJS-37 Viggens. They got this name as they would fly out early in the mornings and land after dark, so they'd always be out of sight, and therefore people started to call them the Ghosts. So all of the Koenigseggs built in these hangars have that Ghost logo, which I personally think looks drip. But what's even better about this logo though is that squadron's motto was "The show must go on," which Koenigsegg used to reference the fact that the show must go on despite their headquarters burning to the ground. Enzo Ferrari only once told the story of how he came to create the prancing horse logo that has become one of the most famous and recognizable logos in the world. The logo was taken from the horse that was painted on Count Francesco Baraccia's planes. The Count was a fighter pilot during World War I, and when Enzo met the Count's parents, they suggested he should display the horse on his car as it would bring him good luck. On the plane, the horse was black, which he kept onto the logo, but he then added the yellow background, which is the colour of Enzo's birthplace, Modena. On the horse though, the Count sadly met his demise in action after his plane was hit by shots from ground troops, so almost cooler that his logo has been immortalised in history by the Ferrari brand. The Lamborghini bull is an interesting one, as while the company is famously Italian, bullfighting is usually associated with Spain. So the reason for the bull's use comes into question, and there are actually 3 reasons why Ferruccio Lamborghini, the company's founder, used this imagery. The first is that he was born under the zodiac sign of Taurus, which is associated with a bull, so I assume man like Ferruccio was just sitting there one day like, oh gosh, I'm such a Taurus, I should start a car company. The second is that he specifically had a personal interest in bullfighting and often attended events himself, hence he thought by using a bull on his logo alongside the zodiac sign, he would be representing himself. The third and final reason is that he very simply thought a bull would represent the power and ferocity of the cars he dreamed of creating, which is definitely true at least in the case of Lambos in the 80s and 90s. Bugatti's logo is pretty interesting in and of itself, as there is a bit of debate around whether the 60 dots around the edge reference the company's use of safety wires during the early years of production, or if they're supposed to represent pearls, referencing the quality of the cars. But the more interesting logo in my opinion is the Bugatti dancing elephant, which you'll find on some older cars like the Type 41 Royale and on newer cars like the Rembrandt Legends Edition Veyron. The key name there is Rembrandt, as the famous sculptor was the brother of Ettore Bugatti, the founder of the car company. One of Rembrandt's best known works was the dancing elephant, which first appeared on the radiator of that Type 41 Royale I mentioned as a tribute to Rembrandt, and has appeared on a few Bugattis since then. I personally think this is a really cool touch of history. The 4 Audi rings is probably the simplest story you'll find in this video. Basically, the 4 automotive manufacturers in the German state of Saxony came together in a merger in 1932. When they did this, the original company emblem was 4 interlocking rings to display the new unity of these brands. For reference, these brands were called Audi, DKW, Porsche, and Wanderer. And the original name of the newly formed company was the Auto Union AG. Hence you'll see Auto Union in the 4 interlocking rings early on in the company's existence. Once the company became Audi AG in 1985 under VW's ownership, the Auto Union was dropped from the rings for good, but the rings themselves were maintained, which is what you see today. The Maserati Trident is a very cool logo in my opinion, and it came as a result of the Maserati brothers' commitment to family. As the mark was created by brothers Alfieri, Bindo, Carlo, Ettore and Ernesto Maserati, they left out their brother Mario, as he wasn't interested in making engines or cars. But Mario was a talented artist, and the other brothers commissioned him to design the company logo. As the company was founded in Bologna in Italy, at the suggestion of a family friend, Mario took inspiration from Neptune's trident, which sits in the Fountain of Neptune in Bologna's Piazza Maggiore. This was then backed up by the choice of red and blue for the company logo, which is Bologna's colours. And the trident doesn't just symbolise Bologna, it also symbolised the idea of Maserati cars being powerful and luxurious. Pretty simple. Now, a lot of people still believe the BMW logo represents a propeller, referencing BMW's early years of aircraft construction, but this is actually a myth that came from the 1929 BMW advert that that shows the BMW logo in a plane's propeller. In reality, the company originally didn't have a logo as they didn't have any public end customers to sell to, as they just sold direct to the German Air Force. Back then they were called Rapp Motorenwerke, and when they emerged as BMW in 1917, Rapp did have a logo which was a black circle with a horse in the middle. BMW kept the black circle but then put the colours of the region in which the brand was founded, Bavaria, into the logo. However, the colours are actually backwards if you read the way we do here in the West from left to right, as Bavaria's colours are white and blue, but it's the other way around on the BMW logo. That's because when the brand was founded, it was illegal to use the state coat of arms in commercial logos according to local trademark law. The Rolls-Royce logo isn't massively interesting, but their Spirit of Ecstasy definitely is, as a woman in a billowing gown with her arms outstretched behind her, which looks like a set of wings. While Rolls-Royce might tell you the romantic story of it being about the feeling of adrenaline and happiness that came from the early years of cars coming to exist, the actual story behind the shape is slightly more sleazy. When Rolls-Royce realised they needed a logo to represent and uphold their position as a luxury car manufacturer in the early 1900s, Rolls and Royce commissioned Charles Sykes, a renowned sculptor, to design the figurehead to stick on the bonnets of their cars. He modified an existing sculpture he'd created called the Whisper, which he'd already done for Lord Montague, who was already a customer of Rolls-Royce. Montague had put this sculpture on his silver Ghost, which was actually a figurine of his own mistress and Sykes' favourite model, Eleanor Velasco Thornton. Though she died after the boat carrying her was torpedoed by a German U-boat just 4 years after the sculpture became Rolls-Royce's property, the figurine survives and has been used on Rolls-Royces ever since. Another household logo is the Mercedes 3-point star, which is so well known it no longer needs the company name on it, though previous iterations did have the name too. Details are a little fuzzy on this one, but from research what I can see is that it came as a result of a picture drawn by Gottlieb Daimler, who originally founded the Daimler company. In a postcard to his wife, he drew a 3-point star, which he explained would one day shine over his factory and bring prosperity to the company and family. It was a symbol for the company being in charge of land, air and sea. What's important about this is that he wrote that postcard in 1872 and passed away in 1900, and it was his sons in 1909 that recalled the drawing on the postcard and ensured it was taken as the company logo almost in his honour. It shows the importance of having some ambition and committing to the dream you've set for yourself. Finally, one of my favourite brands, Alfa Romeo. When founded in 1910, it was just called Alfa, and the circular badge immediately came to exist with Alfa Milano around the edges, to state where the company was based, of course, and two traditional symbols of Milan were chosen to sit in the centre of the circle: the Red Cross of Milan and the serpent, which was on the coat of arms for the Visconti family, who were a noble Italian family in Milan during the Middle Ages. Though the logo has had slight variations over the years to signify winning Grand Prix, and briefly it was completely red after World War II as the machines that made the badges had been destroyed, the most interesting thing to me is that Visconti serpent, which is actually eating a man. You've got a dragon looking snake literally eating a human being on the logo of your company. It's crazy, but a pretty cool nod to the Visconti family's coat of arms. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to let me know in the comments if there are any other topics you'd like me to research for this style of video, and hit the like button as it really helps me out. Thanks to the patrons as always for their continued support, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Listen.